Welcome to Digital Nomad Diaries, Part 1. Today, I want to tell you guys about my experiences living in Seattle, Washington as a digital nomad. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Shreya Malik, and on this channel, we talk about tech, career growth, productivity, and life as a digital nomad. I have 5+ years of experience in the tech industry, and I'm currently based in Seattle, Washington. And that's exactly what I want to talk to you guys today. I am based in Seattle, Washington as a digital nomad, and basically, my time's up. I will be moving out of Seattle on Saturday, April 17th, 2021. That means I have been here for 2.5 months. And before I get into the meat of this video, let me kind of explain what digital nomading is and how I am digital nomading in my life. So well before the pandemic, there was a concept called digital nomading. Basically people working remote jobs from wherever they wanted in the world. And there are some people that do this on a very extreme level where they sell their belongings and for pretty much an indefinite period of time just go from country to country on a pretty much one-way flight ticket and work just off their laptops. And I think it's a really cool concept and has its fair share of pros and cons. There's honestly not a lot of rules to this. You can pretty much implement any extent of this however you will. And there are some people who choose to be a digital nomad just for a few months. There are people who choose to stay within certain constraints. There are some people who have flexibility from work, but not too much flexibility, if that makes sense. So the way I'm kind of doing it here on this channel and in my life, I have been in Seattle, Washington since the very end of January to mid-April. So that gives me about 2.5 months of time to explore, to visit Seattle and just work out of this place. I spent the last 7 years in San Diego, California, where we really didn't have winters or gloomy weather period. So being here during the winter months has been a very interesting experience, and I'll tell you all about it. So let me tell you a little bit about the place that I'm staying in. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo. It's located right in the middle of downtown and Capitol Hill. More on locations later, but point being, it's a pretty spacious place. I've been paying right around $2,000 a month for it. It definitely sleeps 3 to 5 people, but my group has just been a group total of 2, and that's just been the easiest way to do things given the pandemic. That being said, it is extremely spacious, and I will do my best to insert some sort of pictures or clips of the place. So let's talk about location. The place that I chose to live in is right around downtown Seattle. There's definitely a lot of different options, great for different personality types. I wanted to kind of get the feel of living in a downtown because I lived in a pretty suburby area back in San Diego, and downtown has been a wonderful experience. I really enjoy living here. There's a lot of restaurants, bars, breweries, places to walk to, parks, that kind of thing. An insane amount of coffee shops. We'll get to that in a second as well. But basically, it's definitely called a walker's paradise. Obviously, bars and clubs are not open at this point in time. Definitely, there's a lot of modifications for a lot of businesses, as there should be. That being said, it was still a very fun time for just even being able to grab takeout and take it to our apartment just because it was so close and convenient. So something that's very relevant for a digital nomad is to know how the internet speed is. And as you may or may not know, Seattle is a big tech hub, which means internet was not at all a problem. I did a speed test and it looks like I get 500+ Mbps pretty often, most of the time, honestly. And I have had no problems with that. That's pretty much been part of my Airbnb. It was included in like the costs there. But my point being, internet was not at all a problem, just this being such a major tech-oriented city to start with. I would definitely look into that before going anywhere as a digital nomad going forward though. Okay, let's talk about food and coffee. So Seattle is definitely a coffee hub. The coffee scene here is insane. If you are a coffee snob, I would 100% recommend checking out Seattle. There are some incredible options that will absolutely blow your mind. I noticed that when I was in San Diego, which is in Southern California, a lot of the shops would be hit or miss in terms of sweetness, or just generally sometimes espresso shots, being pulled burnt. And I definitely did not experience any of that in Seattle. Because I guess the coffee scene is so competitive even. The coffee shops are very much up to par. I've never seen more specialty syrups. And I'm gonna stop talking about coffee now. In terms of food, there was no shortage of different cuisines, different styles of food. If I was ever craving anything in particular, there were always options right there, ready to go. On the next screen right here, I'm going to put up a card with a bunch of food and coffee recommendations that I really enjoyed during my time here. So Seattle is definitely not limited to just the Capitol Hill and downtown areas. There are plenty of areas worth visiting around within a 15-minute drive that are all Seattle. These include places like Ballard, even Renton and Edmonds for food, University Village, that kind of thing. And basically, that being said, I would recommend having a car. If you don't have one, you'll be fine, just and plenty entertained in the downtown Capitol Hill area. But if you do choose to bring a car, you'll unlock a lot more options in terms of places you can go. That being said, Seattle and just the PNW, Pacific Northwest in general, is absolutely beautiful. I will insert some pictures up here. Screen just does not capture how beautiful the Pacific Northwest truly is. Seattle itself has some awesome parks like Gasworks Park, Cary Park, Discovery Park is beautiful. A lot of them have hikes. And if you have some extra time, I would check out places like Deception Pass, Cannon Beach Trail. It's actually on the Oregon coast, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And a trip to Portland, which is a 3-hour drive, another major city in the US. And all of that to say, Seattle is a really good location to be in, to be able to kind of explore both city life as well as absolutely stunning and breathtaking nature views. And when the pandemic clears up, it's just a couple-hour drive from Vancouver, Canada. I did not personally get to experience this, but I'm sure I'll be back to do that. So let me take a second to talk about things that I would change or do differently, or any advice I would give. And the major one being the weather. Winter is definitely a bit of a gloomy time of year in Seattle, which means that it was pretty cloudy and rainy the entire time through. Seattle has a reputation of being rainy. In my personal experience, it wasn't necessarily rainy. It was more like a constant heavy drizzle happening for a majority of the day, along with heavy clouds. So it was a little bit gloomy, sometimes for, days and almost more than a week at a time. So if you are a person that gets seasonal depression or just needs the sun to photosynthesize like me, I would definitely recommend visiting in a warmer month, basically April, May, June, July, August, September, maybe October. I don't know about October, but I would basically recommend visiting a little later in the year than I chose to. That being said, I still had an overall amazing time in Seattle. I really enjoyed just the natural beauty around here, and I know I've said that a couple of times, but it's been a heck of an experience just living away from California for the first time in my life, for getting a feel for a very different lifestyle, and for being able to just enjoy a different city during a pandemic, in a pandemic safe way, of course, but get a new experience that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. The other main piece of advice I'd give to people visiting Seattle for an extended amount of time is to consider looking outside of the tourist manuals. I feel like the tourist manuals were a little repetitive and for the most part really just offered up some really, really touristy things like that Pike Place Market, but skimmed over some of the more beautiful insiders things to do. There's definitely resources on those, and I would for sure recommend that someone visiting check those out, because it's definitely worth your time to be here for a longer amount of time. And I guess the last piece of information that I wanted to say before I closed up was in terms of COVID precautions. Seattle, compared to California at the time that I came here in January, Washington had much less COVID cases. Now, I want to say in terms of whatever statistic based off a percentage of the population, I want to say they're around the same. That being said, people are pretty willing to adhere to the precautions in terms of wearing masks. Vaccination rates are only increasing. Again, do your research on that before arriving and before figuring out how you're planning on getting here. Personally, I chose to drive. I drove from the Bay Area to Seattle in a course of 2 days, and it wasn't too bad at all. Your choice might be a little bit different. That being said, overall, overarching thoughts was that I really enjoyed Seattle. I thought it was a great place to kind of get my feet wet in terms of exploration, in terms of getting to see what else is out there in the world other than California, although I am still very biased towards California and the absolutely unmatched weather there. But that being said, if you are a foodie at all, if you like coffee, if you like beer, there's a huge beer scene as well. It's a very progressive city that I feel like a lot of techies would enjoy. That being said, I'm going to wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching till the end of this video and letting me ramble about Seattle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope you consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I think I'm going to make this a series every time I visited a new city to digital nomad, and we'll see what happens. But thanks for letting me ramble, like I said, and I will see you next week with a new video. Bye.